Metropolitan Chicago is one of the most religiously diverse areas in the world, and for more than a half-century, Sanctuary has reported and reflected on our faith-filled community. Sanctuary tells stories of faith from both inside our houses of worship to the streets and neighborhoods where faith is acted out every day with acts of kindness and concern. From food pantries to peace initiatives, from worship services to servicing the poor, Sanctuary has a proud history of reporting on the goodness that flows from our faith traditions. Watch Sanctuary every Sunday at 12 noon.
Next up on Sanctuary, a look at observances this month celebrated by members of the Muslim and Zoroastrian communities here in Chicago.
Welcome to Sanctuary, bringing you conversation and stories at the intersection of life and faith. This edition of Sanctuary is produced in cooperation with the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Sanctuary. I'm Nissan Chavkin, Executive Director of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. And every month, our neighbors and friends in different faith communities celebrate observances that are central to our religious experience. Last month, for example, Christians observed Easter, which celebrates the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. Jews celebrated Passover, which commemorates the Israelite exodus from Egypt and their release from bondage. The month of May holds important observances for other faith communities here in Chicago and around the world. Today on Sanctuary, we will learn about two of these observances, Eid-al-Fitr in the Muslim community and Maidyozarem Gahambar in the Zoroastrian community. To help us learn about these observances and understand what they mean to the communities that celebrate them, I've invited two guests. In the first part of our episode, I'll speak with Imam Tariq El-Amin of Masjid Al-Taqwa, located on Chicago's South Side. And in the second half of our episode, I'll speak with Mr. Rohinton Ravetna of the Zoroastrian Association of Metropolitan Chicago. Imam El-Amin, welcome to Sanctuary. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be with you, Brother Nissan.
I am delighted that you can join us here and explain this very important, but not very well known, at least in this country, observance of Eid-al-Fitr. What is that holiday about? But maybe as a context, what is... Tell us, what is a masjid anyway, for those of us who don't know, and what does an imam do there? What's going on with your congregation?
You hit me with some great questions. First, I'll start with an imam is simply a prayer leader.
Okay.
Kind of the counterpart to a rabbi or a minister.
Got it. Okay.
You know, the masjid, from the Arabic word for prostration or sujood, it literally is a place of prostration. So our house of worship, you know, it is where we perform our daily prayers in congregation whenever possible, and of course on Friday, our Friday prayers, where it is obligatory for us to perform those in congregation. So the masjid, it takes its name from that.
From that action. Got it.
From that action. Yeah.
Okay.
The Eid-al-Fitr, this holiday, the breaking of the fast, the celebration of the fast. Well, there's two things in it. One, there is the...
Yes, which fast are we breaking anyway?
Right. So the fast of Ramadan.
Okay.
Right, and that's the month, this month, it's 29 or 30 days. It is fasting from sun up to sundown. It is...
So it's not 30 days straight.
Well, it's straight.
Of no food for 30 days. You can eat before dark, or before sunup, and then after sunset.
Right,
okay.
Yeah. The other is kind of disastrous. But yeah, so there are some parameters, you know, for the fast. You know, the no eating and the drinking, the relations that one would have with their spouse. You know, those also prohibited. And then some things, you know, along the character side. You know, you're not backbiting. You're not allowing yourself to give into anger. You know, things of that nature. And then it's also, you know, during this month, we're also looking at, you know, increased congregational prayer, increased service, you know, charity. This is definitely the biggest month for charitable giving for Muslims. Takes place during the month of Ramadan.
And you said it's either 29 or 30 days. Why is that?
Because Ramadan is on a lunar calendar.
Okay.
Right. So, and we also have two schools of thought on this, right? Because the Quran,
of course, every community has.
Right. So the Quran makes reference to the sun and the moon following an orbit that is precisely computed, right? And from that, we have astrological, computations where we know the alignment of planets. We know where the moon is going to be at this particular time, or not. So you have one method of determining when Ramadan comes. It is we know the moon will be here at this point, so we have the new moon. So Ramadan will begin here. Then we also have the tradition of the Prophet, peace and prayers be upon him, where he said to go out and sight the moon, look for it with the naked eye.
Right.
So, either way, you're going to do 29 or 30 days.
Got it.
Sometimes we all wind up at the same time, but we generally all end together.
Yeah,
so.
That's good. That's good. That's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
And this ending is Eid-al-Fitr.
Eid-al-Fitr, yeah.
So what does that word mean, or a series of words mean?
So the Eid is the celebration.
Okay.
Right. The Fitr, it's the breaking, but it also refers to the nature. The words fatah and ra, with the Semitic languages, how they have such broad meanings.
Right. All those roots that go in 10 different directions.
Yeah. So on one hand, it's the nature that is being celebrated is the original nature of the human being. So within the Muslim faith, we believe that the human being, as the Quran states, it was created in an excellent mold. And it is only our distance from that. It is only, the influences, it's our forgetfulness. I should put it that way. It's our forgetfulness that pulls us away from that excellence. So the Ramadan, the actual fasting, the restraining oneself, the appetites and the invitations towards anger and, all of these other things, which debase us. It's a celebration of the physical fast, the character fast, but it's also a celebration of the return to that nature.
Got it. So this return is a joyous thing. So this
Absolutely.
is a joyous holiday.
Absolutely.
If I walked into a Muslim house, or I looked in through the window, what do I see about this? Is it a community festival? Is it everyone celebrating in their homes? Is it both? How does that work?
It's a huge community festival.
Okay.
It's a huge, and of course, it should not go without recognizing that people could be in spaces where they might not have access to community.
Sure.
Right. But in general, this is a huge, and it's actually the lesser of the two Eids, right? So, but this one, it's a huge community celebration. You'd see the morning of Eid, the Eid prayer, which it's different than the Jummah prayer. It's congregation, but we generally have that around 10 o'clock, 10:30, in the morning. But people put on, they're getting up, you're excited. You put on your best,
your best stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
Got
your
it.
best clothes. You're scented up. The children are ready to, they know when they come in, they're going to have gifts.
Can I start eating yet?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, good.
Yeah. You don't have. You wouldn't have that full meal.
Right.
Because
that's coming for the.
Right. That's coming. But
Okay.
but you would not start the day. You don't start the day fasting.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you might have something very light.
Okay.
Generally, I have a couple of dates or some water and that first cup of coffee.
Yes, that first cup of coffee.
Yes. But the food celebration comes after the Eid prayer.
So the special prayers for the Eid in congregation, and then are there special foods that people eat, or does that vary by community?
Yeah, absolutely, because this is a global faith, and we have so much diversity depending upon what the cultural norms are, what your comfort foods are. It would be represented during that day.
So nothing specific to the tradition. It's just the tradition of your place sort of has come up with a food that is kind of the big, and it's a big family meal.
Yeah, it's a big Yeah, because we'll have a lot of desserts brought in. You know, my community will do oftentimes we'll have like potluck and because of our experience, we have like bean pie. Like a lot of folks.
This is sort of an American Muslim tradition.
Yes, if you've never had bean pie, if you like sweet potato pie, you will love bean pie.
Okay, red, black, white, which kind of bean?
Navy bean.
Navy bean, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
This is exciting. So we have this returning, this remembering that happens and this joyous celebration. So what would you, I guess a twofold question to sort of take us out on is that what do Muslims take from that remembrance, and what can non-Muslims learn? What kind of lessons can the rest of us take from the celebration of Eid that's now part of the American calendar? It has been actually for hundreds of years, but which way, what lesson sort of would go in each direction, one each?
First is the power of the mind when it is in service to the divine, right? God consciousness. Throughout the year, most folks, will say, I have difficulty controlling what I do, my eating, and so forth. But during Ramadan, it feels easy, right? So intention matters. What we're doing, whatever for, it matters. And I think when we bring God into the, into the conversation, it actually makes those things easier. So that's the first thing. Second thing I would say, just for Americans in general, is that this is a part of, I feel, a lot of the American spirit of resilience,
generosity.
Generosity, absolutely. It really is the best of who we are. I feel like it's a representation of who we are, the best of us that you find in this month.
That's cool, and who we can become.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's terrific. All right, well, I'm going to have to figure out how to get some bean pie in the near future, but I want to thank you.
I got you.
I appreciate it. Imam El-Amin, I'm so grateful for you joining us today and offering an explanation of what was going on with this remarkable holiday that is celebrated here in Chicago by a large community, about 400,000 people or so, and across the United States and indeed around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
A pleasure. And I want to thank again Imam El-Amin for helping us understand Eid-al-Fitr, this wonderful Muslim observance. We'll learn about another important May observance on Sanctuary after a quick break.
Metropolitan Chicago is one of the most religiously diverse areas in the world, and for more than a half-century, Sanctuary has reported and reflected on our faith-filled community. Sanctuary tells stories of faith from both inside our houses of worship to the streets and neighborhoods where faith is acted out every day with acts of kindness and concern. From food pantries to peace initiatives, from worship services to servicing the poor, Sanctuary has a proud history of reporting on the goodness that flows from our faith traditions. Watch Sanctuary every Sunday at 12 noon.
Welcome back to Sanctuary, everyone. I'm Nissan Chavkin, and we'll continue learning about some important religious observances that occur in May. In our next segment, I'm joined by Mr. Rohinton Ravetna of the Zoroastrian Association of Metropolitan Chicago to learn about the festival of Maidyozarem Gahambar. Mr. Ravetna, Rohinton, welcome to Sanctuary.
Thank you. Thank you.
To help us get started, I wondered if you could tell our viewers just a little bit about the Zoroastrian community. What is, who are your members? Where are you located? How big is the community? Just things like that. Zoroastrian is not it's one of the oldest traditions, but it's not very well known in our country. What are a few things that we should know about the Zoroastrian tradition?
Surely. First of all, let me thank you, Nissan, for giving the Zoroastrians an opportunity.
Pleasure.
And also want to thank the broadcast ministry for this program, for promoting interfaith understanding in the Chicago area. Thank you. So, as far as our community is concerned, We number in about hundreds, between 700 and 800, in the Chicago metropolitan area, mostly in the suburbs, a few in the Chicago city of Chicago itself. We comprise of Zoroastrians from Iran and Zoroastrians from the subcontinent, now India and Pakistan. Some of us first arrived in the late 40s, but most of us arrived here in Chicago in the 60s and 70s, late 60s and 70s. And we were small in numbers, so we met at each other's homes initially. And then as our numbers grew, we formed an organization. And courtesy of a church in Hinsdale, the Unitarian Church, we started to meet at the Unitarian Church. And soon we had a benefactor by the name of Arbab Rustam Give and Murwarid Give, who gave a substantial support to build a facility in Hinsdale, then Hinsdale. So we built the facility in 1983, and ever since then we have a fine facility where we meet and congregate and have our worship, and we have a inner sanctum sanctorium. We call our place of worship Dare Mehrs. Dare is the house and Meher is light, love, luster. So it's the house of light, love, luster. And in our Dare Mehrs we have this inner sanctum sanctorum where we keep a fire burning continuously. It's a wood fire. And our mobids, we call our priests mobids. Mobids tend the fire 5 times a day to keep the fire going and continuously burning. Some fires have been burning for 2,000 years in some of our Dare Mehrs. The word mobid comes from the word, derivative of the word magi. The magi is the 3 magi that came to greet Christ and offered gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And we still use to tend the fire, frankincense and myrrh. So that's a little bit of our history in Chicago, and we've grown in numbers.
And it's a relatively small number. It's not like the Archdiocese of Chicago, which numbers its members in millions, but this is a relatively large concentration of the Zoroastrian community in the United States, yeah?
It is fairly large, moderately large. The larger communities are in California and New York area, and also in San Francisco area. We have 27 associations throughout North America, and we've come together to form a federation of North American associations. And we are going to come together. We hold congresses, world congresses, and our national congresses. This one is going to be a world congress this coming July in New York.
Oh, exciting.
A world congress where all the Zoroastrians from all over the world
will be able to come together. That's terrific. And this is your tradition is an ancient community, an ancient tradition, and this holiday is, what's it all about? How do I pronounce it correctly? I have a feeling I didn't get it correctly. So
let me first give you a little flavor of what Zoroastrians are.
Okay.
And then it'll fit in our festivals and holidays. So it's an ancient faith. Zarathustra was divinely inspired and preached a faith about 4,000 years ago. And he declared for the first time that there was one God, and he called that God Ahura Mazda. Ahura is Lord and Mazda is wise. so wise Lord. And then he placed before humankind attributes of Ahura Mazda. The most supreme attribute is Vahuman, the development of the good mind, from which proceeds good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And sometimes these words, Humata, Hukata, Huvarashta, good thoughts, good words, good deeds, are written on our altars.
Mm-hmm.
And the second attribute is Asha. Asha is righteousness, and that translates into natural law of order and harmony. It's the symbol for Asha is the fire, the light, the illumined mind, the light, and so it's a very important symbol. Fire is a very important symbol in our faith. It represents the divinity here on earth. The third attribute is Shatra. Shatra is the divine majesty of Ahura Mazda, and that impels us to serve the community, selfless service for the good of others. And the fourth attribute is our mighty devotion, devotion to your faith, family, community, country, and so on. And with the practice of those four attributes, one can reach, one can reap the reward of Ahuravatat and Amaratat. Ahuravatat, perfection and immortality, and who could be perfect in immortality but Ahura Mazda? So one becomes one with Ahura Mazda with the practice of those attributes.
Mm-hmm. And how does our holiday fit into that?
Yes, so then each one of these attributes also are connected to a element of creation. And there are 6 elements of creation: the skies or the atmosphere, earth, water, plant, animal, human beings. And we have intense reverence for the elements. So some of us, we consider ourselves as hamkars, or co-workers of Ahura Mazda.
Mm-hmm.
And our duty is to move creation forward to a blissful state that we call Frashokarati. And we have intense reverence for creation, and that also impels Zoroastrians to be charitable. We are known for our public charity. Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, we call him Gandhiji, once said that the small community, but very large in charity. So numbers within contempt, and charity beyond compare. So that impels us, and then we have we follow the solar calendar, 365 days. And with the solar calendar, I'm coming to the festival now. With the solar calendar, the New Year is March 21st, the solar equinox. March 21st is our New Year, and from the New Year we have the spring solstice, and then the summer equinox, and the winter solstice. Those are festivals for us. That's the spring solstice is Tirgan. Summer equinox is Mehrgan. Mehr is light, love, luster. And Yalda, which is the winter solstice, represents the ascent of the sun ascends in the sky, and that represents light over darkness, and also, of course, good over evil. So those are the 4 festivals. And then come the other festivals, seasonal festivals, which we call Gahambars. And this particular Gahambar falls so many days after the New Year. So there are 6 Gahambars, 6 festivals. And Gahambar literally means time to assemble, coming together.
In just a few seconds, is there some one thing that this is a great portrait of how it fits into the calendar year and into the theology and the vision of the Zoroastrian community. Is there one thing we should know about this Gahambar that happens in May?
Yeah, most Gahambars we have liturgy first and then the communal meal, the festival meal. So, and each one of us contributes something to the meal. We contribute in kind or in cash and offer some service to the community. Lovely. So those are the principal acts of devotion that Zoroastrian is asked to perform.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I want to. Clearly, we could talk about the Zoroastrian community and their traditions for a much longer time. But I want to thank you, Rohinton, for sharing this information about the community and about this particular Gahambar that takes place in the beginning of May, and for sharing it with our viewers today. Thanks so very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And in conclusion, Rohinton, I understand that you and your wife, Roshan, are going to demonstrate for us a traditional Zoroastrian handshake that people use when they greet each other.
Yes, absolutely. So we greet each other with a hand clasp. Hama Zor, Hama Shobet. Means together in strength and together in righteousness.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Roshan. Our thanks to Mr. Rohinton Ravetna from the Zoroastrian Association of Metropolitan Chicago and to Imam Tariq El-Amin of Masjid Al-Taqwa for joining us here on Sanctuary. If you are interested in learning more about religious observances from these or other faith communities, the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago produces an interfaith calendar in print as well as an interfaith calendar app available for Android and iPhone. You can find more information at the link appearing on your screen. We thank you for joining us on this episode of Sanctuary, and until next time, we wish you good health and peace.
Metropolitan Chicago is one of the most religiously diverse areas in the world, and for more than a half-century, Sanctuary has reported and reflected on our faith-filled community. Sanctuary tells stories of faith from both inside our houses of worship to the streets and neighborhoods where faith is acted out every day with acts of kindness and concern. From food pantries to peace initiatives, from worship services to servicing the poor, Sanctuary has a proud history of reporting on the goodness that flows from our faith traditions. Watch Sanctuary every Sunday at 12 noon